coming today to listen to my information that I've gathered from my pilot study about K-12 university partnerships. And I hope that you'll be interested because it's really important to us and kind of some of the implications of this study. So, the title is Describing a K-12 University Partnership, What Teacher Educators Need to Know. And I think I wanted to start with why it's important to us, because research tells us, and this is from the National Center for Teaching Quality, that there are over 200,000 inadequately prepared teachers graduating each year. And I think that's significant, especially for us in the business of teacher education. And that kind of motivated me to look at and think about what we should consider as teacher educators. And one avenue of teacher prep that's supported and endorsed by educational research is that of K-12 university partnerships. And you can see some of those names that are well respected in educational research, particularly Linda Darling-Hammond is one that is an endorser of the K-12 university partnerships. And this is important to teacher ed because there are still 99% of all teachers being prepared in institutes of higher learning. And so we have that responsibility to think about how it is that we can best prepare teachers and what it is that we can do to have them ready to be successful. This particular pilot study research question was how do pre-service teacher candidates describe their experiences in a K-12 university partnership. And of course my long-term goal is to look for those critical elements of a K-12 university partnership that will help to prepare teachers to be the best in the field. The research does support K-12 university partnerships, but it also gives us some other information that I think is important to look at. One of particular importance is there's a wide variety of structures that have been developed, and they range from very loose models of just a few teachers in a building, very isolated from each other, being supervised by university professors, to more structured types of partnerships where there are some professors actually on campus at the K-12 site. But there are no real decisive models, no exemplar exists for us to follow or for anyone else to follow. But we know the purpose of a partnership is to prepare teachers, improve student learning, and to increase practitioner professional development. And that's pretty agreed upon by most educational research. Also, what we know from research is that partnership prepared candidates have a distinct advantage. And some of those areas of advantage are that they're able to perform more competently in several areas. They're very student focused. They're very willing to try new things that they've learned. They're able to make better theory to practice connections, eventually have that greater impact on student learning, and students that are prepared within a partnership are much farther along a developmental continuum. And all of these are in comparison to students or candidates that are not prepared in a partnership, that are in a more traditional type teacher ed preparation program. Partnerships, of course, are already in place within student teaching. That's fairly traditional plan or method for student teaching. Residency programs, and most of those are post-grad programs, and a lot of master's level placements. There are partnerships that are in place. However, this study is really looking at an undergraduate partnership program and thinking about how to develop that at the undergraduate level. This study was a pilot study to a future, hopefully, larger study, but only 2 senior undergraduate pre-service teachers were involved, but they both had at least 1 semester of experience within a partnership, and they were chosen because of their ability, I believe, their ability to give a good descriptive account of the partnership. Each of the candidates were interviewed individually with 9 questions, and then significant statements were pulled from their transcripts and then coded for meaning. And what initially the findings were, what I believed are that candidates began to view themselves as both a learner and a teacher. And some significant statements that I pulled, and I won't go over all of these, and I'll be glad to give you a copy of this if you'd like. But as a learner, you can kind of see on the left-hand side, candidates began to learn about how schools and classrooms operate. They also began to talk about the process of knowledge and skills transfer within some of their comments. For example, the setting, the partnership setting, tied everything together. I was able to use what I learned in my college class, in my K-12 class, so they began to make some of those important connections. They also learned about relationships in teaching, and I know that that's something that we value as teacher educators. And this particular quote kind of encompassed a lot of those relationships. This particular student talked about the cafeteria staff, parents, faculty, music teacher, the assistant principal, and also, of course, with the students. But this particular quote I thought was a great example of how that candidate began to see the importance of relationships in teaching. They also talked about the work of teaching. I thought it was interesting that they said teaching is hard work. We would stay after school to work on projects and committees just to be ready for the next day. So I think they began to understand that teaching is in fact a very difficult type of work. One student talked about, and I thought it bared mentioning, that she learned a lot of life lessons within her experience. She mentioned being challenged and stretched, but it was in an environment where she felt safe to make mistakes that would help her later on in life. And as I mentioned, candidates also began over time, over the course of the semester, began to view themselves as a teacher as well. And some of the things that they experienced were that student learning success. They began to take ownership of that, of the learning. They used the quote,